Land is the basis of all independence.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grandma Jean. Happy birthday to you. This is a video about my grandmother, Jean Clouden. Today is her 100th birthday. She was born in Grenada on February 26, 1921. She was born to Albert Forrester and Gertrude Mason. She was born Jean Mason in Grenada. She was the first born from her mother. She had a younger sister named Winnie. She had a sister named Sifrina, a sister named Alma, and a brother named Claude. Some of her siblings were actually born in the island of Curacao. Some of her siblings didn't actually grow up with her and ended up speaking Papiamento, Dutch, Spanish by living in Curacao. Jean Clouden grew up. She eventually met her husband, James Clouden. They got married. I believe it was sometime in I want to say in the mid to late 40s. Once they got married, they ended up moving to Aruba. In Aruba, they had some children. As a matter of fact, they had their first child in Grenada, I believe. It was Anselm Clouden, who was born in April of 1948, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going off the top of the head here. He was actually born in Caracou. The second child, Percy Clouden, was, I believe, was born in Aruba. He was born on September 20th, 1949, if I'm not mistaken. And then the third child, Jean's third child, was Shirley Clouden, who was born on June 7th, 1951. And then next is my mother, who was born on February 7th, 1953. Then next was my Auntie Velma, who was born on March 16th, 1954. And then Jean Clouden's last child was her son, Keith Clouden, who was born on May 1st, 1955. And they were all, the last 5 children were all born in Aruba. The first child was born in Caracou, Grenada. But eventually, I think it was right around the year 1960, they moved back to Grenada, where Jean Clouden would spend the rest of her life. She raised her children dutifully. They all grew up to become very hard-working professional people. She instilled great values in all of them. One of the values that she instilled in her daughter Brenda, who was my mother, was always about being honest, being hardworking, being punctual, and those kinds of things that she's instilled in her children, me and my brothers. And I just always remember that, I never actually got to meet my grandmother because she would die prematurely. She would die at the age of 49 on June 9th, 1970. My mother was only 17 years old, but I just remember ever since I was a little kid, like really young age, my mother would always talk about her own mother. My mother wouldn't really ever talk much about her life growing up, but she would mention her mother and made sure that we knew who she was, knew her birthday, knew how old she was turning every year and things like that. So this is one of those things that always stuck into my head. And I guess because my mom told me that her mother died when she was such a young age, I always had this fear that possibly, my own mother would die when I'm very young. So that was always something that was always in the back of my mind. But, I always think it's important to keep the memory of people alive, because even if the person is not physically living, you still have to acknowledge the energy and the spirit of those people. and that's one of the things I like to do, is remember Gene Clouden. And in fact, out of all the grandparents that I have, the 4 grandparents that I have, I honestly feel probably the closest to my grandma Jean, even though that's the one grandparent that I never met, and she's the farthest removed from my birth, being that she died 13 years before I was born. So, having said that, I just want to take a moment of silence for my grandma Jean. If we were in Grenada, we'd be pouring libations right now for her. My mom, every year she goes to the grave on her birthday and on her death day, make sure she lays flowers down, cleans it up in Grenada, and yeah. But that's it, guys. Happy birthday to Grandma Jean. I love you, and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren are all growing up to be great people. And I think you even actually have a great-great-grandchild. I think from my cousin's grandson or granddaughter, I don't know what it is. Kevin Clouden has a Tariq Clouden, who has a child now. So, fascinating. Anyway, we love you. 100 years old. February 26, 1921. Rest in peace. And remember, the revolution will not be pesticides. Peace.